Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1204 of our daily content grind. I completely overshot the big 1200 because we've had so many shout outs lately, thanks to all of you being very generous. I know this is an expensive time of year for a lot of people. I do appreciate all the new signups to the Patreon. I do have one shout out in the queue that I have to wait for, specifically for my neighbors in this building to be vacant, because it's going to be a very loud shout out. But for now, I'm going to keep that one on the back burner. You will get it, don't worry, because it's a very funny one. I want to do it. And today we're just going to kind of focus on my hopes and dreams for the Transformers brand in the year 2025. Since we're about done with this year, we are anticipating a lot of big things for the franchise next year. I would just like to go over a few of the things I am really hoping for. And then we can kind of go back and see how much they actually did. Like this time, late December next year, you can go back to this video and find out how much did they actually live up to. Gonna bet you, not all of it. So let us begin, and I think the big thing is probably the thing that a lot of Transformer fans want any update on whatsoever. I want to find out about Transformers Reactivate. At this point, I don't even care if it's a cancellation. I just want to find out something. I want to hear something about the status of this game. Right now, the Instagram account was deactivated. Ironically, given the name. Now, I believe a Twitter post said that this was in error, but they still haven't gotten it back up as of this recording. So, who knows? Who knows? We don't. Nobody knows because they won't tell us anything. We were supposed to get an update. Like, they announced that, like, okay, we're not going to have an update for the rest of 2023, but stay tuned for updates next year in 2024. Well, 2024 is over. And now I'm still waiting for some kind of update to actually be announced. Show me something. Like, we are counting on leaks from, like, the earlier build of the game, which, frankly, didn't look half bad. For a game that was still in development, I would say it actually kind of looked good. It looked like a game I would actually like to play. But we've had zero. We've had absolutely nothing. This game has been in development for, like, in some form or another, this game has been in development for what 7 or 8 years or so. The toys that came out very recently have had like 2020 copyright stamps on them, so they were supposed to come out years ago. And they won't say anything. They will not give us any kind of definitive update. Just tell me something. Tell me, like, okay, well, we switched engines and we're basically redeveloping from the ground up. You know, tell me, like, characters you're putting in. Show me a character model. Show me updated artwork. Give me some more storyline to speculate over. Tell me something. Tell me anything. Yeah, it's getting really, really frustrating. I really want a high-end, very high-quality Transformers video game title. But when the first developer who genuinely tries to do that is, like, flaking this bad, it does give me concern that this franchise is just never going to work in the video game department. So yeah, sometime next year, and again, I don't even care if it's a cancellation, just tell me something about this game. Anything. Likewise, I hope we find out something for Transformers 1. I know the box office was not great, but there's so much behind it. It's such a well-received movie. I genuinely feel like a second go at it would actually produce results. I think the goodwill and word of mouth that this movie created would actually be able to be carried forward into a second movie that would potentially perform better, especially if we can identify the problems and why this movie didn't succeed, which largely comes down to the marketing for it was absolutely abysmal. It was incredibly misinforming about the product that we actually got in theaters. If we can get something more consistent, if we can actually get something that is like, here's the tone of the movie, like there's a little bit of comedy in it, but for the most part, you're in for like a really tragic story. or like a real look into like Transformers as characters, not fancy CGI set pieces, then you might have had something. If Paramount can actually learn from its mistakes, I'm dreaming, we might actually get something really good out of this if they are willing to do it again. Keep in mind, The Last Night, box office wise, an abysmal failure, like absolutely horrible numbers. So they are willing to take another stab at a franchise that didn't turn in money on its last results. But then again, like it's kind of like the movie franchise for Transformers is kind of concerning right now because Rise of the Beast didn't do well. 1 didn't do well. Bumblebee did okay, but not fantastic. So the last 3 movies only got like a half hit out of 3. That's not great. It's not great. They are still developing the Transformer G.I. Joe movie, so we know that's moving forward. But that's pretty much all we know. We have no idea. I just want some word on, like, are we going to get a Transformers 2? Are we going to get something to indicate, like, yeah, we're actually going to get a continuation of this storyline because this is a really good storyline I want to see again. And speaking of storyline, I really hope Earthspark gets a satisfying conclusion. We are assuming that, they found out about the cancellation, into season 2 production, and that season 2 is going to get a satisfying finale. I hope that's the case. I hope they didn't get I hope they didn't just get the rug pulled out from under them because they were expecting a 3-season show, got a 2-season show that they were going to call a 3-season show because, TV is weird. I'm hoping we get a satisfying ending because I really feel like this show is criminally underrated. I still support this show. I still do videos for this show because I genuinely enjoy this show. And I think a lot of people just really did not give it a chance. That said, I also see why people didn't take to it. So, you know what? Fine. That's fair. I just hope that whatever the conclusion to the story is, I hope they had enough time to wrap it up and actually give us something satisfying for the ending. I hope they didn't plan to leave it on a big season 2 cliffhanger. Like Unicron's bearing down on the planet and then they just cut to black and see in season 3, whoops. I really hope that's not the case. This would be the second time in recent history a show of mine got cut off without getting the full run of 3 seasons they were expecting. Rip Owl House. But they had time to make a satisfying conclusion out of what they had left. I don't know about Earthspark. I don't know if we're going to get that. But my fingers are crossed. I'm hoping that is the case. And we're going to talk about Earthspark and the TV series. I hope Cyberworld isn't what I fear it's going to be. My fear with Cyberworld is that it is going to be a very safe, back to basics, cookie cutter, like predetermined, homogenized Transformers experience. Oh, the Autobots are, Autobots and Decepticons battling over Energon on Earth. Woo! With a name like Cyberworld, I do expect there to be some kind of twist. Like, we might get a little bit more metaphysical. We might get a little digital with the fight between Autobots and Decepticons. As long as it's doing something fresh, I liked Earthspark a lot because it was doing something fresh with the old Transformers formula. And I feel like that's going to be used as the scapegoat for why the show did not do well. Don't blame the very poor toys or the very bad partner that is Paramount that kept hopping its time slot around, which will kill any show no matter how good it is. Don't blame those things. No. Blame how weird the story was. Blame how far away it was. No, obviously they want Autobot versus Decepticon stories. They don't want to see like Autobot Megatron. They don't want to see a new species of Cybertronian. I'm hoping it's not safe. My fear with Cyberworld is that it's going to be safe after Earthspark failed. I feel like the same as Paramount. I don't feel like they're going to learn from their mistakes when it comes for the next Transformers movie. I worry Hasbro's not going to learn from their mistakes when it comes to the brand new cartoon. I feel like they're going to blame the wrong thing instead of listening to fans, and we're going to end up with basically the same style of show, which would be very, very frustrating to me. And in the same style of toy line that isn't selling. Because Earthspark was very easy to find every single time. There was never an Earthspark toy that I ever had trouble finding until the late releases, which became very scarce. I still do not have any form of hashtag. Takara sold the Warrior class. Need to go get that. But there's a deluxe supposedly on the way. Assuming that didn't get canceled too. Okay, I'm ranting on Earthspark again. Basically, I want Cyberworld to continue the vibe of something different, something fresh. We've been telling this story for 40 years. Do something different. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I just feel like after the failure of the last series, I just feel like the different approach is going to get the blame and they're going to go back to basics. That's the fear. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope my fears are unfounded in that regard. And speaking of something different, I really hope all of the 13 primes we get are just ridiculous toys. I hope they go out of their way to make the 13 stand out and be like the weirdest toys they've done in a while. And there's so much room for that. There really is a lot of room for that. We've already seen a few. And to be fair, they are a little bit typical, but they're doing something, at least interesting with their alt modes. Prima is this kind of lunar buggy vehicle, which is not something we normally get to see. I really, really like Solus Prime's vehicle mode. She looks great. Megatronus is a tank. Okay, it's the Fallen. Fallen's alt mode was a tank. I have to give them this one, so okay, fine. He can be a tank, but that does seem very typical. I want weird stuff. I want unusual stuff. I want them to go out of their way to make these things as oddball as possible. Onyx Prime seems like such a good opportunity to do something that's like really stupid with a Transformer toy, and I am all for that. As long as they're introducing the 13 who are supposed to represent all these different branches of what a Transformer can be, I want them to go out of their way to make them all really, really weird and unique. I want that out of like Amalgamus Prime. What is he going to be? What do you do with him? Like, clearly a lot of people have said weaponizer toy. So like pull apart weapons, that can reassemble into like a full transforming robot. Okay, you might have something there. It's technically not what Amalgamus is all about. I'm just super curious how they're going to handle his character. Alchemist is another one. Alchemist we don't have an alt mode for. Like, he is loosely based from his design. He is loosely based on Macadam from Cyberverse, which is the only time that that Prime was prominent in fiction. So that makes sense. But he transformed in that series in Shadow because his alt mode was so monstrous and terrifying. That was the joke. Like, we can't even show you what he's turning into. Just know that it is scaring everybody in the bar, including Megatron. His transformation intimidates Megatron. How are you going to live up to that, Age of the Primes toy? How are you going to do? Especially because I think it's going to be a deluxe. I don't think it's going to be like some towering monstrosity of metal or anything. They have such a good opportunity to do stuff that's just absolutely ridiculous, and I hope they jump to it. I hope Micronus is something super weird. I hope he's very tiny in the box with stuff that make up for it and make a really different toy out of it. I hope that, Onyx does manage to get a vehicle mode out of that Centaur mode, and then still somehow has the bipedal mode he has here. I hope Quintus is some, Cthulhuoid monster in alt mode. I hope they figure out something weird for Nexus Prime, like a leader class whose limbs all like detach and transform into alternate vehicles. Like his alt mode is 5 vehicles instead of just 1, to get the combining element of the character in there. Weird things. I am hoping for very weird things. And I feel like some of them are going to give it and some maybe not, but we'll see. Speaking of Combiner, You love how I'm like linking all these together so smoothly. Speaking of combiners, I'm hoping the aerial bots are actually more interesting than they're looking so far. My least favorite Combiner Wars figures were the aerial bots because all four of them just kind of felt very samey. When you all have to be the same length and the same shape, so they can all form the same shaped arm, the same shaped leg. They all have to have the same combiner block in the same spot. That does limit a lot of what you can do engineering wise, and really I just felt like I was playing with the same toy 4 times over. To be fair, that's not very different from how they felt in G1 as well. But I'm hoping that with modern engineering and just like more like sensibility in the approach, that at the very least the new aerial bots are going to feel unique. I want them to feel different from each other. I don't want to feel like I'm playing with the same toy 4 times over. Especially because they don't really need to like play into Superion nearly as much, especially the two that turn into the leg parts, because they just have to like plug onto the back of his skeleton leg. They don't have to do any kind of weird combination. They don't have to do like the split torso trick that the arm figures are going to have to do. That will limit them. But then again, that same gimmick was applied to a couple of toys in Legacy that were actually pretty good. I like the drag strip. I liked drag strip from that line. The point being, I have a fear that they're just doomed to always be just kind of samey. And I'm hoping that they do enough to make them like feel different. So like once I turn him into Superion, I have a reason to dismantle him and play with the individual toys again. Because I gotta tell you, I have had Superion combined for a long time now. Don't feel like changing that. Really don't. I am hoping that what we get with Star Convoy as the Titan for next year is not the end of the gigantic Titans. Now, I will be fair. I was not big on the last one we got, the Nemesis, like the previous to Tidal Wave. Tidal Wave I really liked, but the Nemesis just felt like such a nothing. Because the Nemesis is in G1 on screen for like less than 30 seconds before it crashes on Earth. It's not like the Ark that was there for almost every episode of the first 2 seasons. It was just a ship that caught up to the Ark and like fulfilled a part of the plot. That's it. It's more famous for being in Beast Wars. And if it was done the way it looked in Beast Wars, if the robot mode and the extra features to it were Beast Wars based, I would actually be into it. I would actually desire that toy. It's nice as a companion piece to the Ark, but it's not a character. And like, if I'm dropping $200, I want it to be a character. I know we are low on gigantic characters who could potentially be Titans, but my hope for 2025 is that we are going to find out the status of those gigantic Titans. Star Convoy, okay, the tight little $150 Titan, cool, fine, whatever. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic toy, but I still think there's plenty of space and a few options there for those gigantic $200 Titans. And I want to find out that we actually have more of those on the way. Whether it is like an announcement before the end of the year, like this is your Titan for 2026, or just Evan and the crew from the development going, we haven't cut that off. Like we're still planning like gigantic Titans. One or the other. I just need to know that the big Titans are going to be okay, even though we now have a smaller scale for them. And on that note, we did see that we are getting an extra Titan next year in Triptychon. Granted, it's just a repaint. But it was specifically mentioned as a Gen Selects figure. And that's another hope I have for 2025 is the return of Generation Selects. I really, really liked the vibe of Selects. I like that it was putting out these like super obscure characters, like the kind of thing that FunPub would put out. Like Selects always felt like a replacement for the oddball stuff Botcom would come up with. The difference is they're just filling gaps. They're doing like late era FunPub stuff that really wasn't as popular because it wasn't nearly as clever or inventive. It was usually just repaint them to look like Diaclone. But Selects is a way of making up for that, having that kind of spirit. The problem is we've seen less and less of Selects the last couple years. Trypticon coming out in that line, that's a huge improvement. The box looking like something, that's a huge improvement. You know what killed Selects? Aside from maybe going too far into the obscure and doing the same mistake FunPub made, which is not being creative enough. The mistake it made is they started selling it to like shops like GameStop, which that's one one of the big reasons why that line got really annoying is because you'd go into some stores that were meant to buy Generation Selects for their online shop, but they bought in quantities that allowed them to put it in store in the brick and mortar locations, where all you had on the shelf was a blank brown box. So now you had this absolute glut of toys at these stores, and it's not just GameStop that did it. A lot of like collector stores did it too, of toys that you couldn't even see without breaking the seal, right? All you had was a name on the box. It was really frustrating, you know, and I think just that caused overproduction, that caused glut. I've bought Gen Selects toys at Ross on super deep liquidation. I want Gen Select to come back the way it's supposed to be. You know, I want more imaginative ones. I want them to like focus on online releases, not trying to get them into brick and mortars, because that's a mistake. It's in the name, Selects. You know, it's meant for a select market. And that means you have a select few fans who are going to be interested in it. So it's not meant for mass retail. It does look like with the new box style that it is, you know, going to continue in some form. They specifically made a point during this broadcast. Yeah, like this is the new box for Selects going forward. Cool. That means we're getting more, right? And hopefully it's not just upgraded paint jobs like Trypticon here. Hopefully we get a few more like really creative things. I would love for them to be like old school BotCon creative. I would love for them to go into like really cool colors and characters that would be really, really cool to get new toys of, but maybe not something that BotCon would have done late in their run. Like, you know what would be perfect would be more BotCon toys. You know how fast we would be buying up like that new like Legacy Cybertron Hotshot if you redid it as BotCon Goldbug? Instantly. So that's the hope. That's the hope. I want Gen Selects to come back, and I want it to be really inventive again. So I think that's going to wrap it up here. Obviously, there's a lot more I'm expecting of the brand, but that's a tiny little video right there. And again, as I said, you could go back to this, you know, a year from now and see just how much did they live up to. My bet is not everything, but we will see. So let me know in the comments below what your hopes for 2025 are as far as Transformers go. Characters you're hoping to see, news you're hoping to get. Could be just about anything. So I'll leave you to that. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
Analysis complete. Adapting translators to local language.
Are you out there?